Hello, everyone. You're listening to Cinema 5000. My name is Mallory. This is my podcast where I just talk to you about movies I've seen, and this happens to be the second Rewatch Recap episode of 2025 is for Q2, so the months of April, May, and June. Just telling you what films I watched again, how I felt on the second, third, whatever number viewing of the film, and why I rewatched the movie. You know, pretty easy concept. So let's just get right going to it. The first film we're going to talk about, I watched on April 4th. It is Princess Mononoke from 1997, directed by Hayao Miyazaki. The tagline is, "The fate of a warrior rests on the courage of one warrior." Excuse me, the fate of the world rests on the courage of one warrior. Ashitaka, the prince of the disappearing Emishi people, is cursed by a demonized boar god and must journey to the west to find a cure. Along the way, he encounters San, a young human woman fighting to protect the forest, and Lady Eboshi, who is trying to destroy it. Ashitaka must find a way to bring balance to this conflict. I think this is one of the greatest movies ever made. It's a classic. It's just such a lovely, moving movie, and it doesn't matter if it's animated or not. The craft and the heart of the film is conveyed wonderfully through the animation and the voice performances, either the English dub or the original Japanese performances. I really love this movie. It's a 5-star all the way. It's just such a beautiful, timeless kind of story. It doesn't matter if it was in the 90s. It's something you could see being told many, many years prior, and I just think everybody should watch it. It's a 5-star for Princess Mononoke from 1997. And another rewatch. This was me seeing Pride and Prejudice from 2005 on April 18th. This came back to theaters for the 20th anniversary. Pride and Prejudice from 2005. That one is directed by Joe Wright. The tagline is, "Sometimes the last person on earth you'd want to be with is the person you can't be without." A story of love and life among the Leyden English gentry during the Georgian era. Mr. Bennet is a gentleman living in Herefordshire with his overbearing wife and 5 daughters, but if he dies, the house will be inherited by a distant cousin whom they have never met. So the family's future, happiness, and security is dependent on the daughters making good marriages. So Keira Knightley plays Elizabeth Bennet. She's our lovely heroine who has unfortunately met Mr. Darcy, who she can't stand, but there's something going on between them. So it's a lot of back and forth of, oh, that Mr. Darcy, isn't he terrible? Or is he? Everybody knows the story. You don't need me to explain it. It was fun seeing this in the theater. Now, I will say I'm not one of those diehard Jane Austen fans. I've never necessarily had a thing where it's oh, Jane Austen, blah, blah, blah. But it was fun seeing this movie in the theater with lots of people who truly have definitely seen this movie many, many times. And in fact, there were some gals in the row I was sat in a little further away who were wearing period-centric dress. Oh, yes. No bonnets, just dress. But it was a fun time. I gave it 3.5 stars, and I hadn't seen this, I think, since it first came out. I want to say this is a movie I rented on DVD, from not a Redbox, but what a Redbox kind of was before it was Redbox. The dorm I lived in Chicago had a box like that, and every day I would go and rent something from the box for $3 and bring it right back after I watched it from my dorm room. But yeah, Pride and Prejudice from 2005, directed by Joe Wright, 3.5 stars for that rewatch. And then on April 20th, which happened to be Easter Sunday, I rewatched Major League 2 from 1994, directed by David S. Ward. The Dream Team is back. After losing in the ALCS the year before, the Cleveland Indians are determined to make it into the World Series this time. However, they first have to contend with Rachel Phelps again when she buys back the team. This stars Charlie Sheen as Rick Vaughn, aka Wild Thing, and then Tom Berenger as Jake Taylor and Corbin Burnson as Roger Dorn. This probably doesn't make a lick of sense to you if you haven't seen these movies from 1994. So I saw this movie quite a few times when it first came out on VHS when I was 9, 10 years old or so. And I don't know why I watched these movies repeatedly. Just the first one. I mean, not the first one, just the second one, because I wasn't allowed to see the first Major League because that was rated R, and this one was PG, so I could watch it. I can't tell you why I watched it, but I remember watching it many times as a kid. And so it had been probably a good 25 years or so since I had seen this, if not longer. Probably longer, yeah. This movie is 31 years old now, and I don't think it's that great. I gave it 2 stars. I mean, it's amusing, but it is, oddly enough, one of those movies where you watch it and you know that it's supposed to be a comedy, and the comedy just kind of isn't there, and it just doesn't really work. So Major League 2, it's 2 stars for me. A couple days later, on April 25th, I went back to the theater, and I saw Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, from 2005. Hey, it's another 20th anniversary movie, directed by George Lucas. Every story has a hero. Every hero has a destiny. Every saga has an end. The evil Darth Sidious enacts his final plan for all unlimited power, and the heroic Jedi Anakin Skywalker must choose a side. Well, hello there. If you haven't seen the prequels, what are you doing? I mean, I frankly think you should watch them, even with the reputation they have of being not so great. I think this is the best prequel. I really do. And I've had some ups and downs in my feelings about The Phantom Menace, sure. I still hate Attack of the Clones. I think Attack of the Clones is bad. But I think I give that 3 stars anyway. This one, I think this is definitely my favorite. It just sort of has like a good pacing structure to it. Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's a good performance. And Samuel L. Jackson is good. And the true star of this movie is Ian McDiarmid, who plays Chancellor Palpatine, aka Darth Sidious, the evil Darth Sidious. Yeah, he's terrific in this movie. I just came away from seeing it this is probably like the 5th time or so I've seen it, feeling even more strongly that he is just terrific in this movie. But it's only 3 stars for me for Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith from 2005. It's fine. I don't think it's really, it's not that great. But when I saw it in the theater, clearly every teenage boy and teenager there had seen it so many times. They were saying all the lines again and again. General Kenobi, like oh gosh, what's his name? Not Dooku, the other guy. Is it like escaping me? What's the name of the bad guy? Grievous, General Grievous. Yeah, when General Grievous came out, like, everybody went crazy in the theater. It was really funny. Grievous is a fun character who doesn't last very long, but, just has enough of, like, a distinct look that it's kind of like, ooh, that's a little different and extreme for Star Wars in some ways. But yeah, Revenge of the Sith was a fun time. It was fun seeing it in the theater, but we can move on from those movies. On April 28th, to close out the month, I went to the Coolidge Corner Theater to see Megalopolis from 2024, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. If you can't see a better future, build one. Genius artist Caesar Catalina seeks to leap the city of New Rome into a utopian idealistic future, while his opposition, Mayor Franklin Cicero, remains committed to regressive status quo, perpetuating greed, social interests, and partisan warfare. Torn between them is socialite Julia Cicero, the mayor's daughter, whose love for Caesar has divided her loyalties, forcing her to discover what she truly believes humanity deserves. Now, the first time I saw Megalopolis in the theater, when it first came out in September of last year, there was not many people in the theater. There were people. It wasn't a full theater. It wasn't half full. Probably at best maybe a third. Now, I liked the film back then. I still like the film now after seeing it again. Though seeing it with a full audience had its, positives and its negatives. Its positives in that there were people there who clearly wanted to see the movie and were enjoying themselves and, like, having good reactions to the movie. But then again, there was a gentleman to the left of me who, after many, many lines, I want to say more than half of the lines in the movie, he would go, like it was funny when it wasn't funny. And there are funny moments in the movie, but going through most of what people are saying is just not a good time to me. And oh boy. And there were a couple people I could hear in the back of the theater who were doing the same after everything. And it just really drove me crazy. Good times. But the reason we were all there, I think truly the reason we were all there, was that Mr. Francis Ford Coppola was going to be there in person to talk about the film and do a little Q&A afterwards. So I saw Francis Ford Coppola in person. And awesome, terrific, fantastic. I have seen the man the myth, the legend, the winemaker. Yeah. The one disappointing thing though was that so when I got to the theater, the movie was supposed to start at 8. It started a little bit after. Or no, wait, it was supposed to start, I think it's 7. Yes, it's 7. It started a little bit after, so it probably ended about, let's say, like 9:30. So Q&As usually are about 45 minutes or so for like movies I've been to at the most, maybe just a half an hour. So I was thinking, cool, I won't have any problem missing my bus or anything like that. I can get there plenty of time. Oh no, this was not my night, because Mr. Francis Ford Coppola brought out a whiteboard and started talking about the important things in life, and I knew he was going to tie it all back to the movie. And he made a list of 10 things, and by the time I had to run out of the theater, get out of there to try to not miss my bus home, he had only gotten to number 3, and I guess it ended somewhere after 11 o'clock. Nevertheless, I get out of the theater, I run to the Green Line train to get to Park Street to then transfer on the Red Line in Boston, and I get on the train and it doesn't move, and I sit there for probably 5 minutes and the clock is ticking. So I run out of my train after paying the fare and stuff, and I go on the street and I call myself a Lyft, and my Lyft got there in okay time. However, I had the most safe Lyft driver in the world. I cannot hate on somebody who is a Lyft driver that is very safe and doesn't speed, especially since we're talking about Massachusetts drivers. So I didn't miss my bus. I, however, had to run out of the lift, up the stairs, escalator, and other flight of escalator, and run to my bus, and I twisted my knee in the process, and I've been having problems ever since then. Was it worth it? Yeah, probably. But I did not see all of what Francis Ford Coppola had to say that night, regretfully. But I don't regret going and seeing him talk for just a little bit, especially since it just was really cool. It was really great. I will have other strategies when some of the greatest filmmakers are in town again and I get the chance to see them. I promise. Because I really wanted to know what else was on that list and what was important and how he would talk about it. It was a very interesting discussion. I could see where he was going with it. And now he's on tour, showing Megalopolis in theaters. It's now a thing. So check your Instagram. Francis Ford Coppola's Instagram has posted in recent times that he's going to be going around the country in the United States for screenings of Megalopolis and a discussion with Francis Ford Coppola. So I would highly recommend you do that if you're interested. Megalopolis, the film, 3.5 stars still from me. I think it's a very interesting and entertaining film for all of what it is and all of everything, I can't be one of those haters because I just think there's too much I find entertaining about it and thought-provoking too. So yeah, can't hate on that. So on May 4th, I rewatched the movie All the Colors of the Dark from 1972, directed by Sergio Martino. Kind of did this by accident. We'll talk about it. Enter a kaleidoscope of psychedelic horror. After a car accident that caused the loss of her baby, Jane experiences an increasing amount of nightmares that shake her to her core. After seeking professional help, her haunting visions turn into even more frightening reality. One of black magic, black orgies, and murder. So I was like, I don't think I've seen this one. It was on the Criterion Channel, and it's one of those 70s horror movies. I like a 70s horror movie, even when they're bad. This one isn't bad, though. I think this is fairly entertaining. It keeps a really straight story about Jane's experience and the vision she's having. But the thing about the movie is, it's so abstract when it starts. I started watching the movie, and I'm like, oh, I haven't seen this before. And then it got to a certain point, and I'm like, nope, I have. So I kept watching it anyway. I didn't turn it off because I like the movie and I like the ending too. So I gave it 3 stars. All the Colors of the Dark from 1972, directed by Sergio Martino. I have seen Sergio Martino's other film, Torso, and I was not a big fan of that one. But if you like gory shit, you'd probably like it. It's just very Italian horror. Yeah. Well, what's next? Let's see. We scroll on up to May 24th. I went back to the theater and I saw Sinners. Now, this was May 24th. I was back in Boston again. Um, I went ahead and saw Sinners on 70mm at the Coolidge Corner Theater. Hey, yeah, I've been there a couple times. It was a fun time. From 2025, directed by Ryan Coogler. The tagline is "Dance with the Devil." Trying to leave their troubled lives behind, twin brothers return to their hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. Ryan Coogler's direction in this is just tremendous. I think this is like him pushing himself very far as a filmmaker and really owning this story and what it is trying to say through his script. You get the vision, you get the ideas, and it's not hard to get on board with what he's trying to say and show you and entertain. Like for every moment in this movie is just like pure entertainment, even when it's really talking to us about hardships that people are going through. And Michael B. Jordan is really great in this. Haley Steinfeld's good in this. Miles Caton, terrific debut performance. Jack O'Connell, Wunmi Musaku. If you haven't seen Sinners, it's on streaming now, but you might get lucky and maybe get a chance to see it again, because I read somewhere that is going to be opening again this July 4th weekend in limited screens. Maybe I'm wrong, but on my second watch, regardless, Sinners, it's a 4-star film. Is it my favorite movie of the year so far? I think it is. I can't think of anything else that really sticks out as a release. And now we are just halfway through the year, so there's still plenty of time, but something about Sinners, it just feels like a genuine piece of filmmaking that comes from a really solid storyteller, and Ryan Coogler is just that guy. He's a tremendous filmmaker. Okay, so now that we get into June, not a lot for rewatches in June. It feels like this is one of the shorter episodes I've had over the years for doing these rewatch recaps. But on June 20th, I rewatched The Worst Person in the World from 2021, directed by Joachim Trier. The chronicles of 4 years in the life of Julie, a young woman who navigates the troubled waters of her love life and struggles to find her career path, leading to her to take a realistic look at who she really is. I've seen this movie so many times. The first time I saw it was I want to say it was 2022. I had a digital file of it somebody gave me. I watched it. I loved it. Then it came to a theater nearby. I saw it then, and then I rewatched it a while ago, and here I am rewatching it again. Now, why would I rewatch this again? The movie Materialists reminded me of this movie. This feels like a more complete version, or vision rather, of the story of a woman who's kind of navigating relationships. She also has bangs, brown hair, so but Renate Reinsve, I think she's tremendous in this movie. Anders Danielson Lee, I think he's just such a great actor. His performance in Bergman Island is also one that I just really like, and his performance also in Oslo, August 31st, which he also did with Joachim Trier. Great stuff. Not saying Herbert Nordrum doesn't do good work here as Elvind, but I just think this movie kind of hits the nail on the head of the struggle of being at a certain age where the world is kind of coming to you and saying, hey, maybe you should do this with your life, or maybe you should do this, maybe you should get in a relationship, maybe you should have a kid, or maybe you just do whatever you want to do. Julie goes through a lot of different phases in her life, even before she hits the age of 30. And we get that picture of her just trying to figure out who she is. And that's what you do in your 20s. You just figure out who you are. You kind of just feel things out, and you can still reinvent yourself in your latter years. But I think the 20s, that's a good time to do it. Just go to see the world, have your lovers, have your good times, and explore. So I really love this movie. I gave it 4 stars. It ended up on the New York Times 100 Greatest Films of the 21st Century too, and I didn't even put it on my list. I probably could have, but it was kind of there's some other movies that kind of stuck with me more. I did post my selections on the Cinema 5000 Bluesky account if you want to go check that out. Obviously I only put 10 films. This one was definitely one of the ones I kind of thought of, but I didn't do it. Regardless, I still give it 4 stars. The Worst Person in the World from 2021, directed by Joachim Trier. definitely watch it instead of Materialists. And back to the theater, I went on June 25th. It was for another 20th anniversary showing, Brokeback Mountain from 2005, directed by Ang Lee. The tagline is, "Love is a force of nature." In 1960s Wyoming, two men develop a strong emotional and sexual relationship that endures a lifelong connection, complicating their lives as they get married and start families of their own. Heath Ledger as Ennis, Jake Gyllenhaal as Jack Nasty, Jack Twist. Oh yeah. I think this has aged really well as a film. And back when I saw it in the theaters, I was in college. I remember it was like the Friday night. My roommate and I got tickets and we went. And it was the first time I'd ever gone to a movie theater where they had signs like "watch your bags" and stuff, because, you could get pickpocketed or have your goods stolen like when you're sitting watching a movie. I was just leaving my small little New Hampshire life to the big city, But Brokeback Mountain, it was a big thing when it came out. It was a big deal. It wasn't just a big deal because it was like the gay cowboy movie. It was a big deal because we had two very attractive young actors being very vulnerable in their parts and showing the world like this side that men can have when, they fall in love with each other. And obviously this isn't the first big gay romance movie ever to exist. Back in the 80s, the movie Making Love was like a really prominent thing that people talked about. And I've never seen that movie, but I feel like Brokeback Mountain, when this came out in the climate of talking about equality, marriage equality and such, this was a really big deal. And this is also like around the time of like Don't Ask, Don't Tell as well. So there were plenty of things in the world landscape that when this came out, people were talking about it, whether they were going to see the movie or not, or whether they enjoyed the movie or not. And I think now, looking at this movie, there's something about it that I think will endure another 20 years, maybe beyond that, forever. And I think it's the way that this movie is very sensitive and has like a really touching lens when it comes to the heartbreak that these two men experience, in that they could not be together. The world was against them. They were star-crossed lovers, and how it affected both of their lives and how differently they were, the different portraits of them and what they went through. Now, I don't think it's a perfect film. I'm going to say that, but I think it's an important film. Like, regardless of it just being, these two straight guys playing gay act. Obviously, there were plenty of times when they had interviews where people were like, "Wow, you're so brave for doing that." But the vulnerability is, I think, something really unique. And Heath Ledger's performance is just great as Ennis Del Mar. Jake Gyllenhaal playing Jack Twist. There's a vulnerability there too, and it's different. The strength in this movie is, what it tells you and what it doesn't tell you, and where it can kind of make your mind like fill in the blanks of like what may have happened, and this portrait of the human condition. I think it's an important one. The things I don't really like about it, it's hard to explain. I think it might be something to do with the editing of the movie. I don't know. But I think it's first like hour or so where we just get to know these two guys. It's just really great. And it does, it is definitely a gay tragedy. And I remember when it came out, there was a lot of talking about that and how people were just like, well, we don't need another gay tragedy, film. And I'm gonna agree that, we don't necessarily need to have all these tragedies. But I think this movie's ability to really get into the mainstream and give people another perspective about, these are just two guys who they met each other in the wrong time, and they had these moments together, and things just happened. I think it's really beautiful. I gave it 3.5 stars. I had not seen this. Goodness, I can't recall the last time I watched this. I want to say probably like a couple years after it came out on DVD. And yeah, it's on that New York Times 100 list as well. And seeing this in the theater, there was a lot of people there, and they were from all kinds of different, I mean, from what I could tell from people in the dark, just different kinds of people, and I think this movie is not critic proof either. It's like, there's plenty of criticism you can lay at it. And I remember there was a filmmaker who said something about it, how they just were like really like bothered by the fact that it was like a straight director making a gay romance, and a gay tragedy. And I can't remember. Gosh, was it Don Ruse? I want to say it was Don Ruse. Don't quote me on that, but nevertheless, for all the criticism, all the things you can say about it, Brokeback has left its mark. And that's why, people were back in the theater, maybe seeing it for, the second, third time or whatever. And, it's heartbreaking. But yeah, Brokeback Mountain from 2005, directed by Ang Lee. I gave it 3.5 stars. Yeah, it's got a 4.1 on Letterboxd, and it looks like a lot of people I know in recent times have gone to the theater to see it, and that's great. Now, you set aside the story and what this movie is about. There is some lovely, lovely landscapes in this movie that are framed so beautifully, and I think that is a tremendous achievement in this movie. Like, you could just watch this movie with the sound off and just see the landscapes and like the sheep and the riding the horse up the mountain to go to the area where the sheep are and stuff, and it's beautiful. And another thing I need to mention, this song, the movie ends with a song by Willie Nelson that is for the movie, and back when this came out, I had an illegal download of the soundtrack, and I don't know how many times I listened to that, because I didn't have like a lot of MP3s, even though I had an iPod. I had the first iPod, actually, so I was like a heavy iPod user, but I had like most of the stuff on my iPod that was like ripped from my CDs. So when I went to college, there was a lot of illegal downloading, and when I got the copy of this, I would just listen to it all the time. Like that theme, it's funny, that theme doesn't come to like the end of the movie, and the whole time I was watching it, I was just like waiting for it. It's like, oh my gosh, where's the theme? And then it showed up. Oh yeah, good times. Yeah, so it was fun seeing Brokeback, as heartbreaking it is. And there were people crying big time. Like, I didn't cry, but oh my gosh, the people were crying. They were crying. Okay, let's move on for Brokeback talk. I could say so many things about Brokeback Mountain, like the time it came out, all those things. Let's close out with a film I just watched the other night. Just kind of like, what am I going to watch tonight? I don't know. I think I'll rewatch 500 Days of Summer from 2009, directed by Mark Webb. This is not a love story. This is a story about love. Tom, greeting card writer and hopeless romantic, is caught completely off guard when his girlfriend, Summer, suddenly dumps him. He reflects on their 500 days together to try to figure out where their love affair went sour, and in doing so, Tom rediscovers his true passions in life. In this day and age, we would call this a situationship movie. Don't get it twisted. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is infatuated by this woman Summer so much, and there's just so many moments in this movie where he's like, she's terrible, blah blah blah, because she said something the wrong way or just looked at him weird, and it's him overreacting, and I get it, but this movie feels simultaneously really on the mark when it comes to how people can be infatuated with someone and just totally forget the thing that they'll say to them of I don't believe in love, I don't want a relationship, but we can hang out and do whatever. Tom is just so not accepting of what is in front of him, because Summer clearly isn't there 100% when it comes to the dynamics between them, and she's experienced things in her life that make her feel that way, and she's entitled to feel that way, but Tom, he's just so lovesick with her, and it's unrequited, unfortunately, and yeah, he's just setting himself up for a world of hurt when Summer eventually stops hanging out with him and meets somebody. And the 500 Days of Summer only ends when Tom meets another girl. Happens at the end of the movie. I have a gripe with the end of the movie. I just wish it was, Tom maybe having one day where he just decides, I've got to move on. Like, make that declaration, not necessarily just replace her with another woman. But this is a movie, and that's what movie guys do. They don't do the realistic thing of like really putting things to bed. That reminds me of how one of my sisters had like a boyfriend she broke up with, and she put everything she had from him in a shoebox and put it in the closet, and she was like, that's it, it's over. Closure. How can you do closure? Yeah, Tom's closure in moving on is like with another woman, when really is that healthy? Yeah, I don't know. His closure should have been the day he saw that she was engaged. And I think one flaw of Summer, I'm not going to say she's a bad person, but I don't understand why she didn't tell Tom before he showed up to the party she was having that she was engaged. Like, let him know, hey, I'm going to see you. Don't get the wrong impression, because that's what you've been doing this whole movie. No. He's living in his own world. He was setting himself up for her. I'll say it again. The dude is a fool, but a fool in love. Yeah, I don't hate this movie. It is a little quirky. It is a little bit of its time. There's certain things about it I find charming. There's certain things I do not like about it. I have unfortunately seen this movie so many times. When this came out, I was like really, how do I say it? I was in my dramatic phase as a single woman. So I watched this movie and I just cry and cry because I felt for Tom. I felt for Summer. And nobody's a bad person. Maybe Tom's a bad person, but yeah, I own the DVD, but even so, I watched this on did I watch it on Max? I think I did watch it on Max. But yeah, I gave it 3 stars. And this is funny because I feel like I could watch it again in a different state and be like, it's so great. I don't think this is a bad movie. I know people really hate on this movie. It's not like Garden State where it has aged horribly. No, I don't think so. And I think one of the moments I really like in this movie is where Tom misreads things about Summer, and you see Summer going to see the movie The Graduate, and she is crying her eyes out. Going back to Materialists, part of Materialists, the ending of it, kind of reminded me of The Graduate, and how you can see them getting on the bus and being happy and be like, yay, that's such a happy ending. And that's kind of what the ending of The Materialist is, though I have a theory that probably within a couple days or so, Dakota Johnson's character finds out that Chris Evans has some past dues. Whoa, did I just spoil Materialist? I'm so sorry. No, I'm if you didn't see that ending coming, what is wrong with you? No, I can just see the money issue coming up again for their relationship in Materialist, and it just ruining everything, and she breaks off the engagement, Anyway, 500 Days of Summer. You could watch it in a double feature with The Worst Person in the World. You truly could. Yeah, I think it's fine. I gave it 3 stars. It's from 2009, directed by Mark Webb. Hey, the same Mark Webb that made 2 unremarkable Spider-Man movies, the movie Gifted and the new Snow White movie that is not that great. Poor Mark Webb. He made this other movie called The Only Living Boy in New York, and I swear to God, I will never watch this movie. It looks terrible. I also didn't know this movie starred Callum Turner. A young man learns that his overbearing father is having an affair. He tries to stop it, only to be seduced by the older woman as well. Isn't that just The Graduate? Kind of. Yeah, kind of. Mark Webb, are you obsessed with The Graduate? Anyway, that's the rewatch recap. For better or worse, those are the movies I watched again. I don't think I gave anything a negative review other than Major League 2. Let me just scroll back and see for sure. Yeah, Major League 2, the only thing you shouldn't watch. Everything else is good. But yeah, I'm Mallory. This has been my podcast, Cinema 5000. Go to cinema5000.com. That's where I upload all the YouTube movies that I put up of podcast episodes with little images. So if you were one of those people who listens to podcasts on YouTube without watching them, you can subscribe to Cinema 5000 podcast on YouTube and you'll be all set. Otherwise, you can go to Cinema 5000 on Bluesky, look it up. And the blog on cinema5000.com has all the updates I do with both YouTube links and if anything feels like I need to write about it, I don't know. Yeah, and if you want to send an email, send it to cinema5kpod@gmail.com. Coming soon on the next episode, I already have my ticket in hand, and I'm 99% sure I'm going to be going to see Ballerina as part of the John Wick universe. Yeah, I'm going to go see that finally. I don't know what else. I was thinking about going to see Elio, and now I'm kind of like, do I want to go? I don't know. Maybe in like 2 weeks, if it's still showing in the theater, I'll go on like some Saturday morning or something. It's just not looking like something I want to go see like right now, especially since we're coming into the holiday weekend and it's gonna be busy at the movie theater. Yeah, but I'll be watching some other stuff. What was I thinking I'd watch? I've heard about this documentary. I don't know if you've heard about it, but I've been hearing things about it being a very groundbreaking, eye-opening story of hardship, heartache. People have been talking about this thing. I don't know if you've heard about it, the Poop Cruise documentary. I think I'm gonna have to watch Poop Cruise and talk about it. See what's up with the poop. I don't understand Netflix, but they make movies and documentaries, whatever, for their audiences. I'm not a Netflix audience member. Oh no. But I might watch Poop Cruise. But yeah. This has been Cinema 5000. I am Mallory. This is my podcast. We'll talk about anything else I see in the next episode. Alrighty, take care. Bye.